What about now? Okay, so now it's working. Jeez Louise. I don't need my monitor on. Hi, silent author. There we go. Yeah. I switched to a new audio interface a while back, and for some reason it doesn't communicate nicely with my pooter. When my computer goes into hibernate mode, it turns off my interface, and then I have to basically unplug it and plug it back. It's a pain in the butt. I think I might have fixed it today, changed some settings in the power management features and stuff, but we'll see next time. Yeah. I've got a bunch of equipment that I probably didn't need to spend money on lying around. And I notice that we've got a new friend in the chat. Hello, female writer. Welcome to Twitch, actually. I have to tell you, and I didn't mention this in any of the comments on YouTube or anything, but every time I see your screen name, Dire Straits comes into my head. It's a good song, actually. I wonder if you know the song that I mean. So yeah, you'll notice I'm not actually writing at the moment. I have to finish getting my things for my. Well, I mean, I'm not evil. I can't speak for Silent Author 1942. Female writer is is my only real subscriber on YouTube. On the YouTube stream, the archives of the streams. Hey, there you are. So yeah, this South Park Phone Destroyer is the only game I actually allow myself time to play these days, and I'm a bit behind schedule today. Wanted to get my pack and upgrade for the Team Wars, and I don't have a YouTube stream. No, I just once I end my stream here, I export the video. What is it? VOD, video on demand. I don't know. There's a video saved after I stream, and then I flip that over to YouTube because Twitch only keeps them for a couple of weeks, and I may want to use some of that video as clips for courses and stuff. It should be on. Yeah, I updated all my what are they called? Not cards. The panels on my about me section in Twitch. So there's a bunch of stuff over there. There should be a panel that links to the YouTube channel. It's just the stream. It's unedited. I don't do anything. If there's like today, there's 15 minutes of the stream's about to start. That's on there. I don't cut or trim or do anything. I just send them over there to archive. So if you're here, that you're not getting anything extra. Yeah, it's pretty much only just to save the videos for myself for later. The only point to any of this, as far as I can tell, is the chat. There's not much interest visually in watching somebody write. I don't think. I mean, maybe reading the story as it's coming out, but no, to my mind, the chat's the only real interesting bit about any of this. So you kind of miss that on the YouTube version. I guess reading the chat. Well, there's yeah. I mean, if you miss a stream and you want to find out what happened or whatever, I suppose that's useful that way, but I don't know. An old friend of mine was commented on a Facebook post about the Twitch stream, saying it wasn't really his bag, and I was my only response was, yeah, mine neither. I don't think I would watch this on YouTube personally, this kind of thing. But it's, for me, it's all about the chat. I assume for everybody else too. So yeah, I've got 3 bars left to go. I don't know if you guys play South Park Phone Destroyer or not, but I usually only take about 5-10 minutes. Get my pack, upgrade the cards, do all the stuff, and then get on with my day. But today it's taking me a bit longer, so I don't know. It's a fairly standard collectible card game, similar to like Clash Royale, or I think there's more than a handful of similar games. All right, and I have a very annoying deck that I play. It's very defensive, with a couple of really frustrating, like, throw your phone across the room because I just did that to you kind of tricks. All right. Oh. Well, fair enough. When I when I explained the concept to my wife and she looked skeptical, I said, well, different strokes for different folks. There's a lot of people who are into ASMR stuff. Doesn't do anything for me. In fact, it kind of drives me a bit batty. But lots of people like it. So I figured if people like ASMR, there's got to be enough people who would like this kind of thing to make it worth doing. For me personally, my I don't know, my impetus, the reason that I started doing the stream and stuff in the first place is basically to give myself sort of an external motivation to write every day or most days. I wasn't happy with my productivity, and given how much other stuff I have going on at any given time, setting aside the time for writing was difficult, I guess. So this is a way of sort of adding some, not really accountability, but when you have a community that's involved and there's other people involved, it becomes more important subconsciously. At least it does to me. So by scheduling in an hour or two regularly for the stream where I write, well, I will in a minute, I'm also scheduling an hour or two in that day for writing, right? Hasn't really worked out that way. I haven't really been getting as much writing done as I planned, but oh, well, if you like the key, you're going to be very happy in a couple of days. I have just ordered, don't tell my wife, I've just ordered a new keyboard. Those of you, I know there's only two of you in there, there's only 3 of us at the moment, but those of you who have been following along will recall my troubles typing. Well, I hinted that I suspected that it might be this stupid keyboard. I had to replace my keyboard a while back, and well, the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come 2, they got nothing but their genes, but they got different strokes. It takes different strokes. It takes different strokes to move the world. I could sing it too, but I might get a copyright strike. That's what I call brain furniture. Residue of my misspent youth. Any 1980s sitcom I can probably sing the theme song. Sing the theme song. So yeah, I was complaining about my keyboard, and this keyboard, this is a Cherry MX 3.0S NBL. It's got cherry brown switches in it, which I can't say that I like that much. my old keyboard, I thought I had cherry reds in it, and then I realized that I bought a keyboard with cherry reds, and when it broke, I opened it up to see if I could fix it, and found out that no, it was browns, cherry browns, which are a bit bumpier. They don't click much more than the reds, but they bump more. They've got a tactile feel to them. And I really like those switches, and I thought I liked cherry reds, but it turns out I like cherry browns. Okay, fine. So then I buy this one with cherry browns, and I don't like the key feel very much. So I don't know why that is. The other thing is that it's not, if you can, yeah, it's, I keep forgetting everything's backwards. It doesn't have little legs so I can adjust the height. So I've just been dealing with it the way it is, and it's unadjustable, and it's been, it occurred to me yesterday that it's possible that the reason I can't type on the damn thing is because the angle's wrong. So I made a couple of little, they're paper wrapped in blue duct tape because, you know, I'm fancy that way. And I just shoved them under the edge of my keyboard, and I found that immediately I could type better. It was night and day. Many fewer missed keystrokes, many fewer like hitting extra letters by accident. Just worked better. So I was happy with that. Okay, got my pack. How am I doing on this? Oh, right. I got 3 more lockers. Okay, well, I guess I'll do another game. But I also decided I wanted some clickier keys with a bit more pressure required to activate them. So I ordered a new keyboard. It is a IKBC keyboard, which is a Taiwanese company that started out as a custom keyboard maker, and then they ended up with a few lines of sort of standard custom keyboards. And they generally use cherry switches in their keyboards. So I ordered one with cherry green, which are nice, stiff, clicky keys. So, female writer, you will enjoy the stream even more because it'll be very clicky. At least that's the hope. I figure if I'm going to be writing and getting some work done and stuff, everyone in my house should know how busy I am working. All right, now, come into my parlor, Nun Randy. I don't know how clicky it's going to be. I don't. The problem with shopping in China, buying things on Taobao in particular, is that you never know if the thing you're getting is actually the thing you're trying to get until it shows up. And even then you can never be sure because they're really good at knockoffs here. So, all right, let's, we got to deal with, I really hate the mind control units. They bother me a great deal. They're very frustrating. But luckily, my deck is even more frustrating. Oh yeah? Don't kick the baby. Bonk. All right, now, see, yeah, I don't know if you guys are at all interested in this game or the cards or the units, but these 4 cards here. Oh, hold on, let me, there we go. Oh, I'll be the new kid. That's me there. These 4 cards here, the goth kids, they all kind of work together fairly effectively. They each buff each other. When they're all 4 of them out on the board, they're kind of nasty and unstoppable and stuff. The tall kid over here, he makes everyone immune to harmful spells. This floppy-topped kid over here gives them all self-heal, so they heal themselves for whatever damage they're doing. The little guy, when he dies, he buffs them all like 38 damage or something. And Henrietta respawns anyone who dies for 8% of her health. So, you know. So at the moment, we're just playing defensive so we can win and get our... Oh, you're going to poison me, are you? Well, have some chickens. Yeah, get the 3 lockers so that I can get those points so that I can finish the event. And anyway, then I can get to writing. I didn't actually get Frank into that building yet, although he's almost in. I realized that I was expositing again rather than writing sort of from Frank's point of view. So, all right, so that'll take care of the event. Yeah, we don't care about that. All right. Zip, zap, zoop. There we go. Open up this pack. It's, this game is really, really very much just a cash grab. The free-to-play, pay-to-win mode of mobile game. But I've been playing for almost 3 years. I've never paid for anything. I just don't care about advancement that much. And I've kept playing because I actually do enjoy the gameplay. There's enough variety in the units and enough variation in deck construction that it's consistently interesting to play. So, okay, I don't need anything there. I've gotten all of those. And we'll go back to the team and upgrade some cards. And then to the writing. I should make some sort of a transition. Oh, I guess that doesn't make any sense anymore, this face up there. Meh, I'll move me over here. Some sort of like a bat transition where I spin around and then come back. That'd be fun. One more and I can upgrade to level 6. Woohoo. All right. That'll be later today. Bottle caps for upgrading cards. 69, dude. What do we want to upgrade? Has anyone started anything? Okay. Stan or Mecha Timmy. Meh. Hold on. I guess I can upgrade Stan all the way. It's good etiquette to finish upgrading one card before starting another. Although, I don't really care about this card. I'd much rather upgrade my tower for the Team War upcoming. So I will do that for these 26. Just to let other people know that this is what they should upgrade. I think I'm the only one on the team that actually plays this card regularly, so I'm the only one that's going to have it up at level 6. But all right, there we go. And we're done here. So we can... Oh, yes, I had the Scrivener project open. Let's open you. There we go. And... Wow. What? Oh, I see. No. So, I've got to figure out how to... I upgraded my... stream hardware. Yesterday, I spent some time programming my little... I've got a little custom hardware programmable keyboardy thing that I programmed some hotkeys into for OBS so I could switch. I can go full headshot, for example. Now I'm bigger than usual. Or I can go back to my writing, or I can do my be right back thing, or my ending stream thing, or, all that stuff. with a press of a button. But it only works if I'm actually on my OBS window, if my focus is on OBS. If it's not, then it just types things into my other window. So possibly less. I'm going to have to Alt-Tab over to my OBS before I use my hotkey. Hadn't thought of that. So I might have to find out if there's a way to hard tie a hotkey to a specific program in Windows. There must be. There must be, but... All right, so... as usual... Hmm. Okay, I don't... So I'm trying to... foreshadow a thing, but I want to do it subtly. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Good enough for now. I'll have to fix that later, but I want to get going on this scene now. Hmm. Also want to check. Oh, okay. That. Search for the thing that I tell you to search for. Yeah, all right, that's what I thought. All right. Hey, Wolffang Lonefall. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. How goes? Nice to have you. I was going to ask, actually, sorry, unusual for the stream. I got straight into writing and started writing. I like it. I like the new Scrivener. I don't know if you're on Mac or Windows, but Windows, it was basically we jumped from 1.0 to 3.0, and we didn't get all the nice sort of quality of life upgrades that the 2.0 people got on Mac. And 1.0 was buggy. I didn't like it much, but it was better than Word or OpenOffice Writer or whatever. I like the new one. I really am enjoying it. There's some things that I want to know how to do that I don't know how to do yet in this one. Some things I never quite figured out how to do, or they weren't available in the old one. And I'm not sure about the compiling in the new version yet because I haven't compiled anything yet. I should probably figure that out soon. But yeah, I like the new Scrivener. I was going to say it's unusual that I got right into the writing without much chatting. How's everyone's writing going? Everyone who writes. Are you a writer, Wolfgang Lonefall? Or Wolfgang, I'm sorry. Wolffang Lonefall? Are you also a writer? I know silent writer and female writer are or silent author and female writer. Oh, Lord. It's been a long week. Pardon me. Silent author and female, I assume female writer, that you are a writer as well. Um, Female writer on the TV. See, every time it's in my head. Yeah, there's, yeah. I mean, I watched enough tutorials on YouTube to figure out how to get this project going, um, and I'm working on a series of nonfiction things that I'm going to publish as well. But oh, excuse me. Um, yeah, it's, I mean, it's a fairly straightforward piece of software, really. But 10th chapter of the, were you doing NaNoWriMo, Wolfgang? I promise, I won't complain about the Nano forums anymore. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Well, what type of novel as well, actually? I guess that's the first question I usually want to know. Yeah, yeah, okay. I can see that. I've been I've been trying to force myself to not pay as much attention to the appearance of my software and just get some work done. I tend to tinker when I get into settings and things and making things appear the way I want them to the exclusion of all, productivity and getting things actually done. So I've been sort of forcing myself to just what is it they call it in the software development world? An MVP, minimum viable product, a fantasy novel. Cool. Given your screen name, Wolfgang Lonefall, I kind of guessed that it would be fantasy or shapeshifters, First Nations or Aboriginal inspired fantasy oeuvre. I'm guessing. Probably wrong, but I'm guessing that. Yeah, yeah. My issue, I'm sure you're aware of my issues with the NaNoWriMo people, the forums in particular. Got 4 billion different forums with obscure little rules and no clarity whatsoever on where to post what, and no willingness to be flexible on posting things that are unusual or don't fit within their fairly narrow categories. In particular, in situations where their usual tools are broken or don't work for other reasons. So whatever. I'm done. I don't need Nano. I can write by myself. Been doing it for years. So, and actually, I mean, I was a bit discouraged as well by the complete lack of involvement from people here in China who I was trying to sort of rally. I was attempting to act as a sort of unofficial ML for the China folks because we don't have an ML, um, and was shut down by the forum people, and also there was a fairly significant lack of interest on the part of the other people I know here in China who are doing NaNoWriMo. So I was trying to solve a problem that wasn't a problem for anybody but me, and I decided maybe I should just mosey off. But whatever. I'm less bitter and crunchy about it than I was. At this point, I'm kind of indifferent. But yeah, the forums. Oh, the forums. Mm, mm. Anyway, where were we? Ah, that's what I wanted to ask you, Chris. Have you continued working on that scene that you started writing during the word sprint the other day? I'm curious. I suspect the answer is probably no, but I hope it is not no. I hope it is yes. Oh, I wonder, see if I can remember which button does what. I've also, in case we do want to do a word sprint. Really? That makes me happy. I am very happy to hear that. One of the buttons I programmed on my little side keyboard switches there. Turns that off and on. Hey, word sprint. Oh no, now it's gone. Word sprint. Now it's gone. Ah. I like my toys. Um, yeah. So Wolfgang, why don't you give us a little synopsis of what your story is about? What's your setting? What kind of fantasy? What's your elevator pitch? The back of the book blurb. And female writer, what are you working on as well? I am curious. I am a curious little boy. I want to know all about the stories. Ah, yeah. I mean, I've kind of I got a list. Oh yeah, I'm reversed. Ha ha ha. Too bad for you. I've got a list of channels that I need for sure or that I want to have, and I'm not gonna have time today to set it up. I was hoping this week has not gone the way I planned for it to go, I have to say. Had a sick kid for a few days home from school, so was dealing with that. Plus multiple trips down to the visa office with sick kid once. Yeah, fair enough. It's setting it up, like getting it going is pretty straightforward. I want to set aside the time to actually do it properly and make sure that I'm not missing anything, and I just haven't had the time. It's been go go go. In fact, this stream right now is the first sort of breathing space I've had in 3 or 4 days. I'm quite far behind on my client work, voice work. I've got 4 YouTube video voiceovers to record, and then those 4 plus another 2 to edit for yesterday. Actually, for 2 days ago now, but I've talked to my client and let him know I was going to be late. I've got a little over an hour short audiobook that was due on the 30th. Well, that client, their due dates are fairly fuzzy, but yeah, I got to get that. I haven't recorded that yet, so that's probably about 4 hours of work that I have to do, and I should get that done today if I can. And then I've got another. I was hired to narrate a post-apocalyptic novel, a serialized version of it. So I've got another 10,000 words, which is about an hour of audio, a little over an hour of audio that I have to record before the 6th, I think. So I've got a very full plate in terms of the voice work, plus my own projects. Plus, it's now December, so I am technically supposed to be starting that project with my university creative writing professor person, which means I should probably be putting Frank away for a little while so that I can get to work on that. But just a lot. There's a lot right now. So I'm hoping to have it set up by the weekend. If I can justify it, I might pop into Discord and set up the server today. It's not I've set up servers before. It's just a matter of blocking out an hour or so to get everything set up the way I want it to and install the bots that I need and figure out what bots I need. I haven't done any of that for a long time, so I'm not sure what bots are available and which ones I need. So yeah, to the YouTube tutorials again I go. But yes, once I do set up the Discord, I do hope that some of you, anyway, some of my early friends, my early regular friends, will be willing to act as moderators and head up some areas and be community leaders and things like that. I was thinking about it, about this stream the other day in the chat. And it really is already feeling like a community to me. I don't know about you guys, but we've got our regular chatters who are here frequently, if not always, but you know, it feels like a community. It feels like friends. So, oh, I know. Oh, but it is true. And if especially given that, I mean, I've been not really shut in exactly, but uh I've been from a combination of employed outside the home and self-employed 2 years ago to for the last year and a half being pretty much, well, not pretty much, but being only self-employed. I say self-employed because it sounds better in my heart than unemployed. And I do have a company and I do work for myself and what have you. So, I am self-employed, but I'm not employed in China and we've had no income here other than what my wife earns on with her online sales. So I was very much the primary breadwinner here. So we've been tightening our belts a bit. I mean, we're fine, but living off of savings is not something you want to do long term. Anyway, yeah, no, but I've been sort of stuck in my room by myself much of the time for the past year and a bit, year and a half, almost year and a half now. So having friends, people to talk to, people to chat with, people whose lives I care about. I mean, in addition to my family, other people. I mean, it's important to have connections, to have socialization. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully, once the Discord gets set up, we can actually start building a community. Okay. First contact situation, but in a possible gas lamp fantasy setting. Interesting. So like science fantasy, kind of, or sci-fi story in a fantasy setting, historical sci-fi. Are you planning to have magic and creatures and stuff like I do, or oh, we seem to have lost Wolffang. Hopefully they will be back. Mm. Oh, that kind of first contact. Okay. And sorry, when I see first contact, I'm thinking brr, 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 brr. That kind of first contact. Hmm. Are you okay? So are you planning to write it from the human perspective or from the elven perspective? Hmm. Hmm. That would. Hmm. So the standard setup is that the elves have always known humans have been around, but humans are just cottoning on to the idea that the elves exist. But we have stories of elves, right? Human beings know of elves, or we think we do. We have the idea of elves already. But what if elves had no idea that humans were a thing? Hmm, that is intriguing. Okay, so both suddenly realizing the other exists, first contact from both sides. Cool. That that does sound interesting. I'm looking forward to that. One of my ideas for the Discord would be sort of like a critique circle kind of feedback sharing section where we can share excerpts and maybe not whole things but pieces of things and get some feedback. Um, I'm going to have to figure out how to. That's going to have to be moderated fairly heavily, I suspect, if there's a significant number of people on it at some point, because that kind of thing can get fairly nasty fairly quickly. And a lot of people don't know how to either give or receive critique. Okay. I imagine there would be an awful lot of scope in that for exploring like colonialism, themes of colonialism, that type of thing as well. I can see a lot of opportunities there for some interesting social commentary or exploration. I prefer the exploration motif to the commentary motif most of the time. In serious fiction, anyway. I mean, I have mentioned I'm a huge fan of Terry Pratchett, so I can't really say social commentary isn't my thing, but I only like snarky, sarcastic, humorous social commentary that I already agree with. Uh, Actually, for me, social commentary has it easily becomes preachy rather than commenty. So, and that I don't care for as much. But ah, different biomes. Welcome back, Wolfang. What are you what are you working on, Wolfang? Like what's the your fantasy novel or story? Is it a novel or story? Novel, you said. Let me see. Fantasy novel, yeah. What's your setup? What's your synopsis? And different biomes. So you've got like water dwellers and land dwellers and air dwellers, that sort of thing, or jungle, deserts, mountains. That would work too. Oh yes, thank you. Anne McCaffrey's my all-time favorite. Well, I mean, yeah, I can't pick an all-time favorite. It's in my top 10. One of the writers that influenced me the most, I would say, as a younger reader in particular. I reread the Pern series every few years just for fun. And as actually, yeah, okay. So something that I was thinking about last on my last read through. Does Jackson remind you of Ensign Wesley Crusher from Star Trek: The Next Generation at all? Because I always think of him that way, as sort of like whiny and kind of annoying. Shut up, Wesley. Um, in the uh, earlier episodes, and then later on develops into a more interesting and well-rounded character. I've always sort of connected Jackson and Wesley Crusher in my head. Maybe that's just me. Yeah, yeah, I would have read. I think I'm probably older than most of you. Although I don't know. Silent Author 1942 seems to be up on the 1970s and 1980s sitcoms, so possibly I have a contemporary in the chat. I think I read would have been the 80s for the Dragon Riders of Pern, like the trilogy, and then the Harper Hall trilogy. I read mm, earlier than the 90s. I'm fairly confident in that. I would say, okay, so it would have been, yeah, mid to late 80s ish, I guess. Okay. Okay. So perhaps more than a lot of people, it sounds like you work geography into your. Yeah, I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40. Let's put it that way. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I slipped off my 1 cup of coffee, then switched to tea routine today. I was I had been drinking this pre-roasted stuff that my coffee supplier sent me by accident, and then I sent it back to them because it's not the thing that I ordered from them, and then it wasn't picked up by them at the delivery depot thing, so the delivery company ended up bringing it back to me, and I hadn't heard anything from the company at all. I just kept it. So I was drinking that pre-roasted stuff for the past little while, but I ran out yesterday, so I roasted some, and I'm back to good coffee again. So I had to have a second cup today. So yeah, Anne McCaffrey is the bomb. Have you read the rest of her stuff? The Crystal Singer, Tower and Hive, or Hive and Tower, the psionics, the Gestalt psionic stuff. Actually, one of the the things I've written that I'm the most pleased with is a sci-fi short story. Well, almost a novella. I don't know if I would call it a novella, but it's a short story that in which the protagonist is a brain chip, which is very much an Anne McCaffrey thing. Second rate artists borrow, first rate artists steal, something like that. Um, yeah, Sam and Ellis. I should work more on them as well. I've got a novel coming out of that short story too, because all of my short stories grow novels like mushrooms. Okay. I think I've probably at this point read everything she's written, although I don't remember all of it as well as others. The Acorna series, I don't remember very much at all. The Crystal Singer series, I also don't remember very much, although I know I've read it, and I've read it a couple of times probably, but um, one day, someday, someday when my schedule clears up in a couple of weeks, yeah, lies we tell ourselves when we're adulting. I mean, my issue on more recent rereads of McCaffrey's stuff is that she's very much a product of her time, and as is her writing. The the way that genders are portrayed are accurate, even progressive for when she was writing. She was pushing the envelope there then, but it it jars a bit with current sensibilities, and I find that messes with my enjoyment of it somewhat. I mean, ain't no one gonna tell me that Lessa is some sort of retiring, shrinking violet romance novel heroine, but there is a bit of that kind of flavor to everything. Um, and I find that it's not as much to my taste now as it maybe used to be. So, um, the the way all of her protagonists seemingly have to, well, not maybe not all of them. I might be generalizing there incorrectly. The idea that they have to be weak and you know less than before growing into stronger than. I guess it's the hero's journey. It's not really much different than if it was a male protagonist. I don't know. It might be worthwhile for me to reread all of her stuff again with that in mind and sort of just give it a an analytical eye with that sort of slant. I guess might be interesting. Couldn't hurt. So, hmm. I'm not sure what you mean. Knowing it can be censored. Now, everything can be censored, give or take. And I should probably clarify there when I'm talking about the way that McCaffrey's stuff maybe doesn't fit modern sensibilities. I don't think of that as particularly a problem most of the time. Um, I don't expect things from the past to fit with modern sensibilities. That's sort of the nature of social growth. I'm currently, like I've mentioned before, I'm currently working on an audiobook version of H.P. Lovecraft, and I mean, if you want to talk about problematic, I've done some L. Frank Baum stuff, including his American fairy tales. I've done Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow as audiobooks, and for all of those things, like for American fairy tales, the subtitle of my version of it is minus the racist ones, because there's a couple of stories in his American fairy tales collection that are horribly racist. Um, oh, I see. Yeah, like Firefly. Um, I got burnt one too many times. Not by that exactly, the canceled side of things, but with Wheel of Time. Good old Robert Jordan. He was taking so long to finish a book and then ended up dying before he finished the series. And here I am, 8 books in, 11 books in on a series that's possibly never going to be finished at one point. And I swore to myself I would never start another series again unless the series was finished or the author was already dead, which is a bit dark. But and now George Martin is doing it to us again, right? So yeah, I know what you mean. I don't like starting a long series unless I know it's going to be able to finish. Most of the shows that I watch these days are actually British panel shows. Like, yeah, you should only ever watch a series that's all the way out already, and then you can binge it, watch it in a weekend, right? Yes, he did finish the Wheel of Time series, but there was a period between when Jordan died and when Sanderson was tapped to finish the series where we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if it was ever going to finish. Yeah, no, exactly. I recently discovered a show called Letterkenny, which is a Canadian sitcom, um, which, let's just say that when I watch it, I feel very seen, almost attacked. I grew up in a fairly rural part of Canada, and there's an awful lot of what is on that show that rings true to my experience. Let's put it that way. Um, and it's like there's 8 seasons or 9 seasons out already when I discovered it. So I watched I think 3 seasons of it and then kind of overloaded myself on it and had to put it away for a while. But I'll go watch the rest of it at some point. One of the reasons I like panel shows, like Would I Lie to You or Mock the Week. I'm trying to think what else I watch for panel shows. QI. They're sort of self-contained. There's no continuity. You're not waiting for another episode to finish. They're finished in the episode. Each episode is its own thing. So whether I watch another one or not, I've enjoyed the one that I watched, and that's cool. Taskmaster is probably my favorite thing on television right now. Too many books, too many words, too many pages. If you enjoy it, that's a feature, not a bug. That's a pro, not a con. 14, is it 14 books plus the prequel? Yeah. I'm planning to reread it at some point. Hey, Tudor, how's it going? Tudor. Oh, you got another busy chat today. I'm liking this. I mean, my story isn't, but I am. It's Wheel of Time. I have a difficult time recommending Wheel of Time. Oh, headache. I don't like headaches. That's the one thing I just really can't deal with is a headache. No, even a mild headache will put me under. Kill any chance of getting anything done or enjoying any part of my day if I have a headache. That was why we were pretty worried about my son, because he had a bit of a headache and he was nauseous and throwing up a bit. Although I think it was a combination of a sinus infection and possibly some food poisoning. I'm not sure. But he's fine now. He's back at school today, so. Well, I remember there being 14. Let me see. There are 14 volumes with a prequel and 2 companion books. So, I guess 17 books technically, yes. 14 novels in the core series. I have trouble recommending Wheel of Time because I know it's not for everybody. It's very much for me. I enjoyed it just on face value as a fantasy series. I thought it was well enough done. What's the old romance and what's the new romance? I'm not up on the genre much. New romance being, more erotica and, kink, and old romance being like sweet romance and less pardon the phrase, in your face. It's always a bit giggly talking about the romance genre, isn't it? With Wheel of Time, the pacing is quite slow for a lot of people. It's more akin to Lord of the Rings in terms of its pacing than it is to, I don't know, a Piers Anthony Xanth novel or something. Or a Terry Pratchett novel, for that matter, where the pacing is fairly quick and zippy. Especially in the middle of the series where he was really stretching things out in Wheel of Time. They call it what is it called? The slog? There's like 3 novels near the middle, just past the middle of the series, that just drag. On rereads, they're a lot more interesting than the first time through. But I mean, because of all of that, I have a hard time recommending The Wheel of Time. And especially because, even if you don't like the first book that much, you might like the rest of it. Oh, Tad Williams. Okay. Yeah, no, Tad Williams is not your friend if you're a slow reader. I'm a fairly quick reader. I read about a page a minute at my normal pace. A page of like a trade paperback. So, I can quite easily read Discworld novel in a day. I have read the entire Lord of the Rings series, the three original books, in a weekend, but I didn't do anything else, and I'd already read it several times, and so, you kind of skim parts a bit accidentally. Yeah, yeah, that's honestly, I think Wolfang, that's more a problem with society than with romance. Uh, Tad Williams, I recommend highly. One of my favorites. He actually live streams on Facebook and does live readings of some of his stuff. I haven't stopped in for very long on any of them just because I'm busy. I should. I mean, he is one of my all-time favorite authors. I really love his stuff. The Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series is phenomenal. The Otherworld series is great. I need to find more days in the week to read more for me, but I've been trying to. Are they? Huh. I'm I'm showing green on my little square of doom. My little square of doom is green. I've got minimal dropped frames. Actually, yeah, my stream health is better than it's been for a long time today. Huh. I don't know. I think the problem might be on your end. Everything looks copacetic here. Copacetic? Copaceptic. Yeah, it's rotting from the inside. Um, yeah, Tad. Tad Williams is great. He's phenomenal. I love his stuff. Um, Robin Hobb as well. The Farseer series in particular is gorgeous. Her prose is just so you want to roll around in it. Yeah, I used to be a fan of Mercedes Lackey, and then I chatted with her once on Quora, and she's a trash fire of a human being. She really, really is. Um, I mean, her books are still her books. I enjoyed reading them. I probably wouldn't read them again. I enjoyed some of the things she was doing in some of her series. Ah, well, the not good internet's probably the key culprit there. Um, yeah, Mercedes Lackey is a dumpster fire of a human being. She goes on Quora and answers a bunch of questions to stoke her own ego, presumably. And then if anyone disagrees with her or has a different take, well, they obviously don't know what they're talking about, and they should just piss off and die. And she's very condescending to anyone who disagrees with her. So anyway, yeah, it was just Thanksgiving. I should be more thankful and less grumbly, I suppose. Two. Yeah, the problem is always there's more things to read than there is time to read them. And then you add in my habit, my history of rereading things I've already read. Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I still enjoy her books. I'm not going to say she's a bad writer, just a bad person. Mm. I enjoyed the. I don't know what the series is called. The Mage War series, though, with the Griffins and the Kestra Chern and all that stuff. I thought it was. I thought it was well done for the most part. I thought the inclusion of um, how to phrase that in a way that makes it say what I wanted to say. Having problems wording again. Ah, cool. Um, the way that Mercedes Lackey dealt with like homosexual characters, where it was just part of the character and it wasn't made an enormous deal of, um, I thought was good. And I try not to get sucked into identity politics, and I have I have issues with intersectionality. In particular, just the fact that people who champion intersectionality stop too early, when really the end point of intersectionality is the individual. Saying that only certain types of people, only people with certain group memberships can take part in certain conversations, I think is counterproductive and logically wrong. But the fact that she is a straight white hetero woman writing about gay people, and was sort of pushed as the champion of gay representation in fiction for a long time, wasn't as big a problem for me until I found out that she's kind of nasty. In which case, at which point, it became more of a problem for me. So fair enough. Maybe not so much a big deal, but yeah. Tamora Pierce, a name that I've seen and heard, but I don't think I've read any of her stuff. Might have to put that on my to be discovered list. That is a very, very long list. All sorts of things to read. So I mentioned that another person and I, who are both here in Hangzhou, are working on a podcast, or we've started working on a podcast where we're reading the Discworld series in its entirety, one book at a time, and then chatting about it on the podcast, chatting about each book. And when we're done the Discworld series, the plan is possibly to do the Wheel of Time, although we'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to commit to anything yet. We've recorded a first sort of preview episode prior to reading the first Discworld book, but my podcast partner has kind of gone AWOL a bit, and I haven't heard from him since then, and I don't think he's finished the book yet. So he's busier than I am in terms of external obligations. He has a full-time job and a part-time job, plus whatever other projects he wants to work on. So for me, I'm a lot more flexible. Yeah, no, I always shudder and cringe, especially in like the fan fiction world, and like nine out of seven NaNoWriMo novels are about a gay character, regardless of the experience of the person writing. So, and inevitably, their gayness is the only thing that this whole story is about, them being gay, and it's like, oh, come on. Napoleonic Dragon Rider series. Writing it down. uh, Tamora Pierce and Naomi Novik with a K. Got it. Ha. How can I not check that out? Napoleonic Dragon Rider series. Yes, thank you. Yeah, a lot of the I shy away from. I find it distasteful to divide the community between professional writers and amateur writers using amateur writers as a pejorative. But there's always a but, right? There's an awful lot of dabblers, in particular in the fanfic and Wattpad and all of those, like, share your writing for free to the internet while we make ad revenue kind of platforms. Where, yeah, it's just these two-dimensional social justice characters that really, yes, Mistborn. I want to read that too. Actually, I want to read all of Sanderson's other stuff, and I haven't read much of anything. A couple of booktuber channels that I read, or that I watch. Highly recommend Gentlemen Bastards as well. Hmm. Okay. Haven't read it yet. So, in the Wheel of Time, you were always cheering for Matt Cawthon, huh? Have any of you been watching the series, the TV? The Is it Amazon Prime show? Yeah, yeah. I'm a big Matt fan as well. He's everyone's favorite after the third or fourth book, anyway. I liked him from the beginning, though. I've watched the first episode of the TV series, and I have issues. But of course I do, right? I don't like that they made Matt a thief. I don't like that they made him morally gray more than he had been. Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's quicker and easier than rereading the series, right? I should say I'm enjoying it too. I enjoyed the first episode. Yeah, well, strategy, right? That's the yeah, not rereading the series is quicker and easier than rereading the series as well. Fair enough. But I wanted to revisit the world and the characters, and I don't have time to reread the series right now. So yeah, in my country, most shows aren't available either, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. But I haven't sat down to watch the second episode yet. There are things I don't like about what how they've done the adaptation, but watching things. Why the Last Man? That's a title that's reasonably familiar as well. Oh. Hmm. Hold on 1 second. I'll be back momentarily. I need to visit the little writer's room. Ah, there we go. Erase those things that I put there. Now I can see you. Ah, I've I've voiced my thoughts on NaNoWriMo several times. I was doing it, but I decided to go my own way. Not in the other sense, but yeah, in terms of NaNoWriMo, I've gone my own way. Oh, that's clumsy. That's clumsy. Oh well. Can't all be winners. Yeah. I am very happy that you managed to stop by and join in the chat. It was good to chat. Good to see you here. Welcome to the family. Hopefully this will be a regular thing. I did decide that I'm going to have to reduce my stream schedule a bit because things are piling up. So instead of five days a week, I'll do 3. See you next time. Yeah, I'm planning to do three streams a week. So my Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, which would be North America's Monday evening, Wednesday evening, Friday evening, I guess. I just too busy. I don't have time. I am planning to set up a Discord, so that'll be sort of a regular thing that's always available, or where someone's should be always available anyway, and a little more I don't know, reliable. I've kind of had to face the fact that I had scheduled a bunch of streams over the past 2 weeks that I didn't stream on because life got in the way, and that's a sign to me that maybe I'm biting off more than I can chew. 5 streams a week with everything else going on. So anyway, it'll still be 3 times a week. And the Discord once I get it going. More than you can me. I don't understand. I'm trying to think what I said that connects to, but I... Oh, chew. Gotcha. Sorry, that was a Wookiee mistake. Being a father is easier when you've got dad joke game. Yeah, well, it's just life is hard sometimes, right? Being a dad is I don't know. There are harder things, I guess, but it's a responsibility. No, I just wasn't sure I wasn't sure what you were referring to. If I don't pay very much attention to the things that I say is the issue. So once I say it, it's gone and I don't remember. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, it's just, yeah, responsibilities. There's all sorts of responsibilities. There's things I want to do, things I have to do. Yeah. Oh, don't call yourself a jerk. That's not friendly. You've got a friend in you. You've got a friend in you. Do 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 ba do do boop ba ba do 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 ba do do. What is it? I don't know who said it originally. I'm sure it's been misattributed a bunch of times on the internet in memes and stuff. But don't speak ill of yourself because your body doesn't know the difference. Something like that. At any rate. Frank's still not in this building. Does who speak Spanish? Me? No. No, I do not. I speak French, although not nearly as well as I thought I did. Bumped into a French speaking person the other day at that Thanksgiving thing. Um, Found out he was from Quebec, and I asked where he was from in French. He said, "Oh, you speak." Anyway, turns out my French has disappeared almost completely. I used to be fluent in French. I haven't used it in 30 years, so it's gone away largely. Je parle un petit peu de français. No habla español. Although I do, one of the YouTube channels I voice over has been focused on a lot of South American and Central American drug kingpins lately. And so I've been catching flack in the comments section for pronouncing Spanish names with a French accent, apparently. Anyway, I speak Mandarin Chinese and English. Those are my two sort of functional languages at the moment. French, if I were to spend a couple of weeks getting it back up to speed, I could probably be okay there again. And I used to speak Japanese and I used to speak German, but it's been a really long time and I was never that strong in either of them, so. ¿Dónde está los biblioteca, por favor? ¿Dónde está las or las mamacitas? Dos más cervezas. I can order a beer in like 14 languages. I got the important stuff covered. I would say your English is absolutely fine, Wolfang. I've been teaching English as a second language for almost 20 years now. So, yeah, I've seen poor English, and that's not poor English. I had a student. I won't name him, although whatever. English names for Chinese students don't really mean anything anyway. But I had a student once, 12, 13 years old, had been going to an all English school where all of his classes were in English for 3.5 years at this point. ¿Dónde están las mamacitas? It is las, okay. But that's crude and chauvinistic and misogynistic and sexist and stuff anyway. And my wife won't let me find any mamacitas anyway. Yeah, 3.5, 4 years of classes only in English. Kid walks in late to class, and I ask him, "Can you close the door, please?" He turns to the rest of the class and says, "Door shamaisa," which is Chinese for "what does door mean?" What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? The kid's English name was Tony, and that became a shorthand amongst the teaching staff for a student who's making no effort at all. He's a real Tony. I had 3 Tonys in that class. All 3 of them totally useless. Anyway, te amo tien hemrosas hoyos. Show him the door. Yeah, unfortunately, can't do it. That's the problem with for-profit private schools, is that at the end of the day, you got to know who's paying the bills, right? I was actually, they declined. I say I was fired. I wasn't fired exactly. They declined to renew my contract. All foreign teachers are on 1-year contracts there. So you have to renew your contract every year. I was there 5 years. They declined to renew my contract because one class of 11-year-olds didn't like me. So the extent of my Spanish for a long time was that whispered bit in the Madonna song La Isla Bonita. Él dijo que te amo. Te dijo te amo. Yes, thank you. If you guys want to speak Mandarin, I'm all for it. 你们会不会说中文？普通话可以吗？哦，我还没有写很多了今天。Oh, sorry. Yeah, I haven't been writing very much today. Sometimes I curse under my breath in Chinese, or my exclamations, IOA, that kind of stuff. I spent 3 months in high school living in Quebec, in a very rural, very French only part of the province. And we studied French in school, but not that it made any difference. You learn French in school for 4 years and you don't speak a word of it when it comes down to it. But I picked it up fairly quickly while I was there. Excuse me. One of the first phrases I fair enough. Is it a tone problem? That seems to get most people. Even it gets me. I've been here 17 years. I still screw up my tones pretty regularly. One of the first phrases I learned to say in French when I was in Quebec was Ton père a dû être un voleur parce qu'il a volé les étoiles et la lune et les a mis dans tes yeux. Which, of course is, your father must have been a thief because he stole the stars and the moon and put them in your eyes. The cheese factor alone got me places. Yeah. Mandarin is... there aren't too many sounds that don't exist in English. There's an U sound that exists in French but not in English. It also exists in Mandarin. And there's a zh sound, like the R's in Pinyin. 今天很热, 很热. It's like a circumflex kind of tongue. Your tongue curls back and up. 很热. That doesn't really exist in English. And then you've got the X, Q, and S, which I still have trouble differentiating between. In my pronunciation, anyway, I can hear them. I know how to spell most words that have like a chi, shi, si. Yeah. But I also speak Mandarin with a southern accent. Accent, yeah. It probably is, Chris. Yeah, the zh. It, yeah. I could see that being similar. There's only so many sounds a human mouth can make, and if you learn 3 or 4 broader, like distance languages, you're likely to hit almost all of them at some point or another. Um, Argentina, okay. Yeah. There's I'm trying to think what other sounds are awkward in Mandarin. It's a fairly simple language in some respects. Phonetically, there isn't that much variation. Worcestershire sauce. Neither can most native speakers. If we're being honest, neither can most native English speakers. Worcestershire sauce. Phonetically, Chinese is fairly, or Mandarin is fairly straightforward. You've got initials and finals, and they combine in a handful of ways. There's only maybe 100 and some sounds you can make in the language, and it's fairly consistent in terms of its pronunciation, as opposed to English, which is not. Um, the complexity comes in with tones. Tonal languages are generally more difficult for non-tonal language speakers. Fair enough. It's an extra layer of complexity. But once you get the hang of tones, it's fine. It's just a lot of expats here are fond of saying things like, "Oh, I know that word. I just don't know the tone." Well, if you don't know the tone, you don't know the word. The tone is part of the word. Anyway, um, and the writing, the written system is more complicated than an alphabetical system, but not tremendously so. Not really. There's uh, there's only a handful of strokes that are used to write characters, and characters can be broken into roots and radicals, the smaller pieces, which many of them are characters in their own right that are used in combination. Russian. Blyat. That's the only Russian word I know is blyat, which is not a nice word. Um, I've hung out with a few Russians here drinking. Um, well, I'll say to you, Wolfgang, the same thing I say. Yeah, blyat, that's the one. I'll say to you the same thing I say to everyone who says they didn't have an opportunity to do something. You always have to make your opportunities. Things don't just happen. You make a decision to do something, and then you find a way to do it. If you want to learn Russian, there are lots of ways. There's lots of opportunities. We have the internet. Um, there are online language learning platforms. There are audio cassette tapes and CDs and textbooks and things, and there's communities online you can join to practice. I mean, if you want, learning anything these days is easier than it's ever been in the history of humanity. The opportunities are there where they wouldn't have been 40 years ago, 50 years ago, even. Never mind a couple hundred. Um, yeah, it's always a matter of it's always a matter of prioritizing, triaging. There's only so much time in the day, right? So, uh, yeah, Duolingo. I've not used it. I looked at it. I have plans to develop at some point a language learning platform, or a learning platform that includes language, English specifically, but other languages as well eventually. Um, so I did take a look at most of the major platforms that exist now to see how they work. All of them seem only to be focused on vocabulary acquisition. Um, Not only, but primarily. Anything else is quite difficult with current tools, so it's understandable. But uh, Yeah. I've heard good things about Duolingo. What do I use? Um, for Chinese, I kind of fell off the wagon. I have fallen off the wagon for a while again now. I've never studied Chinese really. I picked up a textbook now and then, gotten a few pages in, and then kind of fizzled out, lost interest, whatever. Deprioritized that on my action items list. And I started up again recently and was taking it fairly seriously. I speak, I'm functional in a spoken Chinese setting. I can live here comfortably. I can get most things done that I need to get done. If I have to do something unusual or different, I may have to look up a bit of vocabulary beforehand just to make sure I can handle it. But like my vocabulary is very domain specific in some cases because I haven't studied it. But my reading and writing are horrible. I've got the reading level of a kindergarten student at best. So I set out to actually like remedy that and learn to read and write properly in Chinese. And I was getting there. I was making progress, and I was doing daily practice and everything else. I was using an app called Scritter. Yeah, Scritter, which lets me do. It keeps track of stroke order. I have a little capacitive pen that I was using, so I can write my characters and learn my stroke orders and stuff like that. So, oh, I got a okay. I ordered a new teacup. Well, that's Chinglish. A new sort of, it's a big 1.5 liter thermal jug with a strainer. You put your tea and your water in there, and then you drink your tea all day. Which will help with my switch from all coffee to a little bit of coffee and mostly tea, and then hot lemon water after lunch. I'm a complicated man. Yeah, so I use that app for character practice basically, but everything else is just textbooks and reading for me, and I guess because I live here talking to people. Oh, a writing question. Haven't had one of those for a while. Main characters. That's a good question. I usually come up with who they are at the same time as I'm coming up with a setting. I'll have an idea for a kind of story, and I'll think, okay, well, what kind of place do I want, and what kind of. I'm trying to think of specific examples from stories. Like, oh well, for the this novel I'm working on, Frank started as sort of a just a throwaway detective character that comes in at the end of at the end of the short story where the young woman gets killed by a moth. Um, and I needed him to say something dramatic or whatever to close off the short story. So something has to be done. And then he sort of stuck in my head, and I fleshed him out gradually, came up with some ideas for like, well, who is this guy? Why does he care so much? What's the deal? Let's make him more interesting. Let's add some complexity. And I just sort of built him up from there. I was thinking, okay, so if I was going to expand that story into a longer story, a novel or something within this world, this setting, so it would have to be, he would be the character I'd want to follow, make it a detective story. Okay, so I need a detective. What kind of, how can I make that character interesting as a detective? Okay, so the illegitimate son of a nobleman, he's rejected his noble family, not the other way around. Some other stuff that I haven't told you guys about yet. That's going to be a big surprise reveal closer to the end of the story. Stuff like that. So, I just try and come up with things that make the character more interesting. Sometimes I'll come up with backstory. in my short story To Ride the Wind Dancing, the one with the brain ship, um, the character who is a brain ship, her name is Sam, and she's partnered up with a non-augmented human man named Ellis. I mean, they're both human. Part of what I was exploring in that story was what it means to be human, or what I was starting to explore. There's not really a lot of room in there to explore anything complicated, but the novel that comes after, that will come after, does. And so, okay, so I wanted a character who's a brain ship. All right, there we go. Why is she a brain ship? What's her backstory? I generally just try and come up with backstory and add details that make her interesting, that make her three-dimensional, make her like a real person. If she was a real person, well, yeah, the ship who sang is, I mean, it's very, I don't want to say derivative of Anne McCaffrey, but certainly the brain ships that she wrote of are in my subconscious. They're there. Um, Mine's a bit more science fact than science fantasy. Um, yeah, no, exactly. It very, very, very much inspired by the works of Ms. McCaffrey. Absolutely. She's part of my DNA at this point. But, I take it places where she didn't go, and I do different things with it. It's definitely my story, not her story. Um, I've been sort of veering away from rereading that series of her books because I don't want to find out just how much mine tags along. Just how much inspiration was taken. I don't, I'm kind of afraid to find out. I haven't read those in a very long time, so yeah. Well, okay, so now that's we're talking about character development along with plot. As characters, as all characters, main characters and secondary characters and supporting characters and throwaway background scenery characters, as every character goes through, has experiences, goes through the story, that those experiences should affect them, that should change them. Sam volunteered to become a brain ship. Almost every, well, not almost every other brain ship in the history of brain ships has become so after some horrible accident or because of some tremendous birth defect that made them unviable as a meat person. And the only, they were going to be stuck on machines anyway. Might as well make those machines perambulate, right? Um, Absolutely, yeah. I'll quote Newton on that too. If I have seen further than most, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. And McCaffrey is definitely a giant. Um, yeah, it's one. Yeah, it is something you need to be cautious of, though. I had started writing a book called The Dreamer, which was my NaNoWriMo project for 5 years running, because I didn't get more than about 2,000 words in. And it was a riff. It was meant to be a riff on Lewis Carroll. The main character's name is Elise. She finds herself in a surreal fantasy world that seems oddly familiar. And the setup for the story is that the world is dying. The world is and the world is dying, and the world is the creation of the mind of an entity called the Dreamer. So at the center of this world is the Dreamer, and there's a group of people in this world that their plan is to find the Dreamer and wake the Dreamer, thereby ending the world, with the hope that the Dreamer will sleep again and create a new world. But this world is sick and dying. There's um, all sorts of trauma happening. there's null storms, I think I called them, where when it passes through, everyone becomes sort of a blank zombie-like person who doesn't remember anything. Whole bunch of stuff. And I realized as I was writing it that while it is inspired by Lewis Carroll, it also takes entirely too much from like the Never-Ending Story, for example, the Nothing, right? The childlike empress in the middle, and there's an awful lot that was very, very reminiscent of like if Lewis Carroll had written the Never-Ending Story, and I was like, I don't want to write that. That's not what I want to do. So I put it away. No, the dreamer's name is not Azathoth. The dreamer is just the dreamer. And I won't. Anyway, it's you can sort of the ending is telegraphed pretty heavily, but yeah, I put it away for a while because I want to come back to it when I can make it my own story more than someone else's story. So yeah, Wattpad. Oh, I want to like Wattpad. I really want to like Wattpad, just like I really want to like Critique Circle, but neither one of them really does what they set out to do very well, I think. I mean, no, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to strike that, reverse it. Critique Circle doesn't really do what it sets out to do very well. It's too restrictive, and you basically have to buy credits if you ever want to get anything done on there. And getting good feedback from anyone is almost impossible on there. That's more of a community problem than a platform problem. But Wattpad does what it's supposed to do, and it does it fairly well. It's just not what I want to be doing, I guess. Fair enough. I mean, that's always the way, right? Society would be great if it weren't for all those people. Wattpad, for people who just want to write and share their work in a very like as a hobby, Wattpad's great. I think it does good things there. For me, I want to make a living doing this. I want to make a living writing. I want to write and publish and entertain people and tell my stories, and yeah. But and you can write things and entertain people and tell your stories on Wattpad, but excuse me, I need to make a living too, so I'd like to make a living doing that if possible. And my online courses that I'm working on, I've got one published. I've got a whole list of other ones that I plan to do. I'm planning a study skills course, a number of fiction-related writing courses. I'm going to do some ESL courses specifically for IELTS and for TOEFL. So I've got some online courses I'm working on. That's one thing I enjoy doing that I'm hoping to add to the pile of ways that I make a living. Yeah, so I mean, Wattpad for me is not useful at all. I tried to get involved in the writing community on DeviantArt for a while. I set up a group I call it cross-pollination, where visual artists and writers could collaborate. A visual artist could post an image, and then the writers could write things based off the image, or a writer could post a short or a flash fiction piece, and visual artists could illustrate it or draw things based off of it. So that didn't get very much traction over a fairly extended period of trying to get it some traction. And the writing groups that are on DeviantArt, I mean, DeviantArt doesn't work very well for writing. It's not designed for that. But I ended up moving on after a while because it wasn't serving my needs anymore. But how do you recommend to publish a novel? Well, hard to say. It depends on the you and on the novel and a bunch of other stuff. The barrier to entry for self-publishing is very, very low these days. It's pretty easy to set up a Kindle Direct Publishing account on Amazon, and with something like Scrivener, you can compile to ebook and upload that, put together a cover, or hire someone to do a cover if you want to spend the money. If you're not a graphic artist, if you're not a good graphic artist, I do recommend hiring someone. I have a cover artist that I hired who did this for me, which I am very, very, very happy with. I love this image. I love this image so hard. One of my favorite things. I had it printed as a poster and it hung on my wall for a long time because I like it that much. If you're going to self-publish, it's worth spending some money on a professional cover artist. You can run a contest on Fiverr even and get something good. Yeah, so am I, Tudor. So am I. I set up a publishing company that published exclusively through KDP. We did three anthologies of short fiction over a year and a half or so, and then I closed the doors. I closed up shop because it just wasn't worth the amount of work that was going into it. If you're going to self-publish, there are a couple of things I strongly recommend spending some money on. One is cover art. KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. It's the self-publishing arm of the Kindle store of Amazon's ebook business. So basically, if you have an Amazon account, you already have a KDP account. You just have to go over to the KDP side of things and set up some tax information for revenue, that kind of stuff. Spending money, right? Yeah, spend money on a cover. You don't have to spend much, but spend some money on a cover, or get good at making covers. There's so many terrible covers out there, so many terrible covers, and it's easily avoidable. I mean, there's no reason for it. So the other thing you should spend a bit of money on, if you're an artist, if you're a visual artist, then by all means, pay attention to book cover design principles, though, because negative space, the fonts you use, and the kind of text, and the kerning and the spacing and all of that stuff, those design elements are important. So spend some money on a cover, or spend some time, if you are an artist, spend some money on an editor. Even if it's someone who's a semi-professional, or another writer who you can pay something reasonable, or exchange favors. You read my novel, I'll read yours, and we'll edit them for each other. An edit exchange or something. Get someone else to go over and give you feedback, and then as a writer, you need to decide what of that feedback you're going to use and what you're not going to use. But if you can, hire an editor, hire a professional editor, someone who knows what they're doing to edit you, because that's the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in the quality of your book. And the quality of your book is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference in your success as a self-published writer. I mean, if your only goal is to write a book and put it out there, and you don't care about sales at all, then it doesn't matter, I guess. Do the best you can and push it out. It's easy peasy. But if you're hoping to actually make a living, or to make it even a reasonable side job, I really hate the term side hustle, but it ties in with a very sick part of North American culture that I dislike immensely. But anyway, if you really want to make something of it as a professional writer, then quality matters and marketing matters. Take some time and go through Google. Google has some tutorials on how to use Google search ads, and AdWords, and a few other things for online marketing. Go through some tutorials on how to use Facebook ads. Although I think Google search ads are probably your better bet there. Jotterpad? Which app? Oh, is that a publishing app? I've not heard of it. Yeah, I mean, editing is important. Editing is very important. One set of eyes on a story is never enough. Even if it's just you have some beta readers that give you some feedback in general. I mean, copy editing and checking for spelling and punctuation and stuff. It's a specialized skill. I'm not very good at it myself, especially with my own work. I always miss a bunch of stuff. I'm not very detail oriented that way. But yeah, if you want to make money at it, you really have to know how to run ads, and it's not that complicated. It really isn't that difficult. I mean, look at some of those yo-yos on YouTube that are producing videos on how to use Google search and blah, blah, blah. They're idiots, and they can do it. So the signal to noise ratio. No, all of it exists in Spanish too. Um, Here, hold on. I'll. That's the link to the KDP. If you go there, it'll localize itself to your Amazon account. I assume you have an Amazon account, like a Kindle account or an Amazon account. It'll ask you to log in with that. You log in, and all of the details are there. And I'm sure they have it in Spanish as well. And you'll be able to find lots and lots of YouTube videos on how to self-publish on Amazon KDP, how to format it, how to make an ebook. I really recommend using Scrivener because it makes a lot of that stuff easy. But you can also, I mean, for that matter, you can use Calibra, the ebook library management program, to convert to an EPUB and upload that. There's lots of ways you can put together an ebook. It's actually a lot easier now than it was even 5 years ago. So the barrier to entry is really, really low. The hardest part is now writing the book. Once you've done that, everything else is fairly straightforward. There's a number of details to keep track of, but it's fairly straightforward. So yeah, by all means, check that out if you're interested in publishing. Jotterpad. I mean, I've heard the name of something similar to that in the past. Let me, or is it Jotpad or Jotterpad? Online Markdown, and what you see is what you. Okay, it's a text editor app for Android. Is Jotterpad. Jotpad. Likewise, a note-taking app. Jotpad with two T's. Well, Wattpad. Or in Spanish, Yachtpad. We're all unemployed for the moment. Scrivener is not free, but there is a fairly lengthy trial period, if I remember correctly. KDP is free, yeah. Calibra is free as well, in terms of converting from, like, say, a Word document to an EPUB. Although I don't know how well it does the formatting. Yeah, we're all unemployed. That's why we're writers. Uh, I actually pretty lucky actually in that regard. In that, you too, Chris. Yeah, there's ample resources on how to format an ebook for Kindle KDP. Lots of info available. A quick Google search: how to format an ebook. Yeah. When when I got de-employed, I like that. When I got de-employed, we had. It was at the tail end of I'm flashing to Ed Norton in Fight Club. You met me at a very, very unusual time in my life, or whatever he says. Um, my wife and I had just sold an apartment we had bought. Um, it was it was the end of a period of about 5 or 6 years. Promoted me to customer. I like that. Very nice. Very nice. I'm gonna steal that one. We had I had spent 5 or 6 years working 16 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week to pay off this bloody mortgage and car payment and everything else. And we'd paid off. We sold the apartment for about 2 times what we paid for it, and paid off the rest of the mortgage. And we were debt free with the ability to buy a much smaller apartment, cash on the barrelhead. So we've been sort of living debt free and off of minimal savings and some light income, family income, for the past year and a half, and we're doing okay. We're doing better than surviving, at any rate. I'm in a much better position that way than I know a lot of people are right now. So in that respect, absolutely lucky. And to be fair, I hated that job. I hated that school. I hated the people I worked for. I liked most of my students, the ones that I knew, but teaching 500 kids, seeing most of them once a week for 40 minutes, it's hard to know any of them, really. And it was burning me out. And the job itself was soul crushing. The people I worked for were nasty. So, yeah, blessing in disguise, largely. I really, really did not like that job. Stayed there for 5 years. But being de-employed, being promoted to unemployed, allowed me to build out some of my other projects to start some other stuff. So that was good. At that point, I was ready to dive into some of that stuff. I'd set the groundwork already. There we go. Yeah, I was released to free agent status. Absolutely, except no, because in China, as an expat, as a foreigner, I'm not allowed to work except on a work visa, which is tied to a specific employer. Part-time work is illegal. Working for multiple employers is illegal, except under very specific circumstances that involve the knowledge and permission of both employers, and your hours at your secondary job cannot exceed the primary job, and it has to be in the same industry. So, yeah, so free agent, not at all. Unemployable at the moment, as it happens. I've got to get my documentation in order. There's some issues with paperwork, getting things authenticated, especially right now during the big COVID. Getting any government stuff done back in Canada is a lot more awkward than it used to be. So basically, once I get my green card, if I get my green card, I shouldn't count those chickens yet. But provided I get my green card, then I'm employable the same as a Chinese citizen for the most part, which means I can work part-time. I can work for myself. I can start a business much more easily, the same as if I were Chinese. So hopefully 5 to 6 months from now, I will have more options for income. Like, I would probably make more money just tutoring privately than I would working for a school. But I can't do that legally right now. So, well, I'm not working on repatriating yet because, Canada's kind of dropping the ball on a lot of things right now. COVID, and on the West Coast, flooding, and some opioid crisis stuff going on there. I don't know that I want to take my kid into that. So at the moment, we're holding off on the repatriation, but I am looking at further patriating myself in China so that I can work legally and have more options that way. It's also, right now, every year I have to renew my visa. The green card's a 10-year, you know, pro forma renewal. Like you, yeah. Well, when we move back to Canada, it's going to be. I don't want to take a hit to my quality of life. Um, so it's going to have to be on the condition that we're able to buy a house cash effectively. I don't want a mortgage. I don't want to go into debt ever again. Um, if we do need a mortgage, it's going to have to be a very, very small mortgage. I don't want that hanging over. Um, and there's a bunch of stuff to take care of first, and getting unplugged from China financially and in every other way to replug into Canada is complicated. So it's the kind of thing that's going to take a couple of years of working towards to make happen. So, and at the moment, with the way the world's going right now, this is the safest, best place to be, as far as I'm concerned. So, no reason, no reason to jump yet. Not yet. We'll see what happens. Uh, what do you what do you guys do for? I mean, Wolfgang was asking about building out characters or developing uh, main characters. What do you guys do for that? I generally develop mine sort of organically along with the setting and the plot, more or less. Kind of flesh things out gradually as I need information, as I need things. But what do you guys do? Do you guys generally come up with character first, or plot, or setting? Lori Pub. Who's Lori Pub? Hello, Lori Pub. If you are not a bot, you are a bot. At least you seem to be. How do you develop characters? Not much. You don't develop characters much? Well, yeah. You've only just started writing, Chris. Come on. You need to cut yourself some slack. Do I have? That must be from out of doors or something. You can hear faint music in the background or something. Well, speaking of character development, I think it's time to develop this a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, fair enough. Actually, the second part of that is kind of what I do too. I tend to come up with a setting or a world first, and I sort of a bigger idea for a place for a story to happen, and then I look for what stories are interesting to me in that space, and character comes out of that generally. So I guess world first and then character. And that's, yeah, it's another thing. It lives in your head rent free. I've got a whole cast of characters up here that yeah. Yeah. Like, it's funny that you ask about characters because I've invented three of them just as I've been writing this because I hadn't thought ahead far enough. We've got a housekeeper, a vice detective. Well, I knew that there was going to be someone in the street dealer position and someone in the distribution position that Frank was going to have to talk to. Skiv and what was it? Scarlet. What did I call her? Scarlet Rose? Something silly like that? Yeah, Scarlet Rose. Might have to think of something better than that, but um yeah. You sort of invented those on the fly as well. Yeah, exactly. Consistency is important. If you set up a world, set up some rules for your world and rules for your characters. So we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, I think. George Martin, one of the things he does really well that I appreciate about his writing is that he sets up the game, and then the consequences fall where they may, which is why a lot of his characters end up dying in A Song of Fire and Ice. But even in the Wildcard series from way back in the day, his little superhero series, all of the powers and abilities have to be logically consistent with the known laws of the universe, give or take. I mean, he fudges things a bit here and there. You kind of have to. It is fiction, but like the example I use is the guy who can turn himself invisible. If he turns all the way invisible, his eyes also invisible, then they can't interact with light and he's blind. If he leaves his eyes visible, he can see, but then other people can see his eyes. Um, so that kind of logical consistency, I also think is important. Yeah, nothing takes me out of a story faster than something that just doesn't make sense given the rules of the story I'm in, or something that a character does that character would never do. It has to be justified. It has to follow logically from what the reader knows. So, yeah, absolutely. That's sort of, I mean, that's sort of what I do as well. I have a pretty good idea of who my main characters are generally before I start writing, and I've sort of thought my way through a few things and made some decisions about them. Whether I've shared them in the story or not by that point is, irrelevant. I've made the decisions myself, and I have some ideas for, not some ideas. I have goals for those characters. So the motivation for a character is what I teach my students in my writing classes. Motivation for characters should come out of some deep-seated need or want. What does that character need that they don't have? What do they think they need that they don't have? They might not be the same thing. And what are they going to do to get the thing that they don't have? And that's where your plot derives from. Generally speaking, in modern fiction, you want your plot to come out of character rather than character coming out of plot. If your character comes out of the plot, then that feels forced. It feels artificial to most readers. And that's a put off. That's a turn off for a lot of people. Generally speaking, to fit well with modern sensibilities, and I say this as someone who reads a lot of really old books pretty frequently, to fit with modern sensibilities, you want to develop your story as a character-based story more often than not. And what that means is figure out who they are at the point where the story starts. So you come up with some backstory, get a good feel for them as a person. And most of the decisions you make about your characters are arbitrary. It doesn't matter what decision you make, but it's important that you make a decision, right? So like, what are some of their favorite foods? What kind of person are they? What are their personality traits like? What kind of people do they like to hang out with? How do they spend their free time? That kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you decide. Anything is fine, but you have to decide it and you have to keep it in mind and think of it as you work them through solving problems that you've put in front of them effectively. So in a way, that's kind of like, yeah, Tutor, that's like a role playing development. Like you've got a character that you've developed, and then they're faced with obstacles. They're faced with quests and things to do, and those quests might be, better self understanding or more emotional stability or dealing with some past trauma. Although I find personally my tastes don't run to the sort of like maudlin emo kind of like, oh, so much childhood trauma, I'm broken character, and I have to figure out how to live my life. It's too much like life, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I don't personally find that very entertaining, that kind of story, which is why I read and write sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, I guess. Well, KDP is not like Wattpad or DeviantArt or one of those like work sharing sites. It's a publishing site. That's how you publish your ebook. So if you want, and possibly physical book, if you want to go for, they changed the name of it. I can't remember what it's called now. The print on demand service that they offer through there. So if people want a physical paper copy of your book, they can order one. It costs more than it should because they're only printing one copy of the book, and the quality isn't. It's not as good as an industry standard trade paperback because they're printing for as cheap as possible. But yeah, no, KDP is a publishing platform. Once you have an ebook, once you have a book, a novel ready to publish that you want to sell to people, then you publish it there. You'll need there's a few details you need to get hold of. You need to get an ISBN number. I think KDP can provide them, but then they are the publisher of record for your book, and you don't want that. I don't know if Argentina has free ISBNs or not. The US doesn't. Canada does, and my company's registered in Canada, so I get free ISBN numbers for everything I make. Let me see. Argentina ISBN. Buscador. Buscador. There you go. So one thing you'll want to do is when your book is ready, you'll need to register yourself or go on to this site, Wolfang, which is the Argentina ISBN registry. And there should be some instructions on there to register your book and get an ISBN for it. And you'll need a different ISBN for the ebook, for a physical book. If you do an audio book, you'll need an ISBN for that. Every different format of the book has its own ISBN number. Yeah, and you upload your book, you enter your information for it, your cover, all that stuff. Hit publish, and you're good to go. And then you can sell your book. It's not simple exactly, but it's not that complex either. It is doable. If I can do it, you can do it. If Tudor can do it, you can do it. I feel wrong saying that. If Tudor can do it, you can do it. Come on. Uh, that's hilarious. Is there a way to show that? I'd have to download it, I guess. Uh, all right, I'm going to save this. Save image as. Not at all how I pictured the moths looking, but okay. Now, if I go over here, bear with me for a moment. I gotta. Now, where is it? There it is. There. I've named the file Bloodlines Alternate Cover. I love that. I mean, yeah, they're called moths. I don't think they actually look like moths. They don't in my head anyway. But this is the. Oh, yeah. Wolfang, you haven't seen my actual cover. This is my actual cover that I made. I don't know about actual cover, but this is the cover I made for for myself. What is this? It's a PNG image. Pokemon, huh? Yeah, that's copyrighted. I'm not going to put that on. Nintendo might sue me. Um, it's the moth Pokemon. I can't remember his name. Mothra. The monsters in my book are called moths, even though they're not really moths. But absolutely. Are you writing in Spanish or in English? I assume Spanish, but if you don't think of your English as particularly strong, it would be an awfully large leap of faith to start writing a novel in English. But if you're willing to do so, by all means. I had a group of students. I ran a book club where we were writing books, a writers club at the school I last taught at. Yeah, no, I agree. Your English is good, but you said something about you just started learning English, or weren't very comfortable with your English. I thought you'd said something along those lines. I think your English is fine, as does everyone else here. So, you know, most native speakers think twice about starting a novel in English, though. So, no, I had a writing club for students who were interested in doing some fiction writing, and every one of them, there was like 12 or 13 kids who signed up for it, and they were all dead set on writing novels in English. It was actually there was an interesting little anecdote that came out of that. One of the kids in that club came to the club one day, and she had the novel she was reading. Yeah, no, your English is fine, dude. I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I wasn't criticizing your English in the slightest. I was just assuming that because you were insecure about it, that you were questioning your English, that you would have been writing in Spanish and not in English. That's all. One of the girls came to the writing club with the novel she was reading at the time, which was a fantasy novel written by a woman named Julie Kagawa, I believe, who I happen to be, Facebook friends with. We've never really spoken much, but I wouldn't say I know her, but we're connected on Facebook. And so I saw that she was reading this woman's book, and I was like, oh, you know what? I know that lady. We're connected on Facebook. So I got her to send me a little voice message for my student, encouraging her in her writing of the book that she was writing, that was potentially life altering for this student of mine, just to get a kind word from a writer that she admired greatly. Absolutely. Um, I bet you that Mercedes Lackey wouldn't have done that. Uh, anyway, well, folks, I think it's time to give up the ghost on getting Frank into this building today, and I'm gonna go and make a bit of food and eat something, and then come hell or high water this afternoon, I'm recording some stuff and editing because I need to get that client work done. That's what pays the bills after all. Um, I will. You know what? I will commit to having a Discord server at least existing in some form or another by my next stream, which will be the day after tomorrow. Um, and we can all join up after that. I'll put a panel on my profile with the Discord login stuff, the Discord name and whatever it is, the thing to get to the Discord. I'll put that on a panel on my profile when I get it set up. So if you swing by at some point tomorrow, even maybe it'll be up and going, and you can join up on the Discord. Um, yeah, no, I do. I need to get going. So we're looking at almost 3 hours streaming today. Awesome, you guys. I can't stay mad at you, but you're really distracting me from my writing on my writing stream. Wouldn't have it any other way though. Thanks again for joining and stopping by. I'll do the extra stuff, the outro things. Fair enough. I will take it easy. Well, maybe not easy, but I'll take it smooth. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, bell, all the stuff. You know what to do. If you're watching on YouTube, come over to Twitch. That's where all the fun is. That's where the conversation happens. Join in, have fun, take part, all that stuff. But if you can't for whatever reason, hit the bell anyway. Yeah, all right. So thanks for joining, and I will see you in a couple of days. Bye for now. Well, that's cool. I just figured out why some of my buttons work when I'm out of the window and some of them don't. Haha. There might be a post-credit scene. Well, at least a post-credit voiceover. Haha. I don't actually have anything ready for that, though. I was planning on making a couple of little video things that I could throw in there, but I haven't done that yet. So I think no post-credit stuff today. I think I'm just gonna go cook some lunch. So, bye.